Well, hello. My name is David Wortley, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this 1 hour webinar on technology, innovation, and aging. I'm pleased to say that we've got some great presenters in the studio waiting to talk to you. But without further ado, I'm going to begin by just showing a few slides to set into context what we're going to be talking about today. So, we're going to be talking about healthy aging, and I want to put this into context by setting the background to the aging society challenges. The picture that you see there was my mother when she was in hospital, taken into hospital. She suffered from dementia, and when she got very badly dehydrated, she very nearly lost her life. But she is kind of symptomatic of the kind of challenges that we face in today's society. We're living longer, we need more medical care as we age, fewer people to cover the costs, fewer working people. The care of the elderly has shifted from family to care homes, and I think Lucia will be able to say something about care of our elder parents as she's looking after hers. Elderly care being a poor relation of public health services, and what's exposed all of this has been coronavirus. So this is the challenge: fewer and fewer people supporting more and more people requiring health services. And Sir Simon Stevens, quite a few years ago now, said that unless we do something about it, we are basically like lemmings heading towards a cliff edge, and we need to transition from cure to prevention. And the key to all of this is behavioural change within our lifestyles. And I'm very pleased to say we've got Fraser Quinn in the studio, Dr. Fraser Quinn, who's the CEO of the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine. So he'll be able to say a bit more about that. From my own perspective, I've been involved as a practitioner of lifestyle medicine for over a decade. I started in 2013, and it wasn't until probably 2 years ago that I even knew that what I was doing was lifestyle medicine. Basically using wearable technologies. The one that I use is in the top right-hand corner. It's called the Jawbone Up. It measured my sleep, it measured my steps, and it also allowed me to record what I ate. And so when I began, I simply learned by experience, by doing 10,000 steps every day, because that was the mantra, and trying to track my calories. And this is what happened. This is what happened to me. You can see what I looked like in 1998 and in 2008. You can see I'm a bit podgy there. And in May 2013, I was involved in a play at the Little Theatre, and it was some comments from my friends about my being fat. Led me to try and do something about it. Not that I suffered from any ill health, but within 3 or 4 months, I'd lost 21 kilos and my appearance had changed quite dramatically. So I'm still learning about lifestyle medicine, and I will be just sharing some of my experiences with one of the latest iterations of these technologies. It's a product called Zoe that I started using a fortnight ago, and I can show you some of the data that's I've got from that. So these are some of the key health and well-being influencers, part of the lifestyle medicine pillars that Fraser will be able to tell you about. So the steps, in my opinion, if you're going to use technology and innovation to make a difference to your life, is you've got to be able to measure the key influencers, the things that affect your health, create personal benchmarks, because everyone is different and everyone has a different level of achievable goals, whether it's walking, whether it's diet, etc. And it's very important also to build a supporting environment. And this is where technology can come in by providing some digital therapies or support in the form of information and education. And it all leads, hopefully, to encourage a sense of personal responsibility. So that's the end of my slide presentation. What I want to do now is just to play you a video to introduce my first speaker, Neil King. So I'll play the video whilst I'm bringing him into the studio. So, Neil, welcome. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. I could see from the picture on the wall that you are in the gym yourself in your little office. Yeah, could you just say a few words about how all of this started, why you set up Longevity and what it is?
Yeah, definitely, David. Thanks for having me on today. Basically, my background, I've worked in the health and fitness industry for in excess of 30 years. I did a sports science degree, graduating in 1989. And since that day, I've probably done every job that there is, either in a fitness club or a leisure centre. I got to a point about 24 months ago. In fact, I think a friend posted something on social media which really made me think. I got to a point about a couple of years ago where I thought the fitness industry, as good as it is in the UK, and as good as it is at attracting new people to regular physical activity, and this is a generalization, is really aimed at the 18 to 35-year-olds. Well, who's doing anything for us as we age? Because as we age, our requirements are different. The outcomes that we're after are different. We don't necessarily want to do burpees and press-ups anymore. We've kind of gone through that phase. So we started thinking very differently about what a studio environment would need to look like and feel like if it was going to attract a different audience and a different clientele. And basically, that's exactly what we've done. We opened our first studio in Milton Keynes about 7-8 months ago. We're up and running. We're trading. We've got over 200 customers that are using us on a regular basis. And yeah, that's the story.
Yeah, so you started and your proof of concept. You were telling me what kind of results have led you to believe that, apart from the number of customers, of course, but the impact that you have on people coming to your gym.
Yeah, I think you can measure impact in lots of different ways, and I think as we get older, we have different triggers which necessarily tick the impact box. The main physiological one is that on day one of joining our longevity studio, we do a full bioage assessment with our customers. The bioage assessment is a functional fitness assessment. We look at areas of muscular strength, which is absolutely essential as we age. We look at cardio fitness, we look at flexibility, and we look at metabolism. On average, when customers work out with us regularly for 12 weeks or more, they reduce their bioage by 7 years. Now, that in itself is massive, because if we think that in the UK especially, the average number of years that people spend with some sort of ill health or disease at the end of their life is 9 years. If you can reduce a person's bioage by 7, you're well on the way to encouraging them to live, a much healthier, longer life with a much better health span. So that's the aim. But other outcomes that we do, as we get older, socialization becomes important. And it's not just a studio that people come to work out in. There's a real sense of community. People make new friends. They meet existing friends. They obviously get close to all the staff. We do a lot of stuff with volunteering. So there's many different aspects that we've got to the longevity studio.
Okay, I think that's a good starter. So I'm going to load up your slide presentation and ask you to take us through the slides. I'll advance them for you. Okay.
Good, thanks. Yeah, so this is our longevity brand. Everything that we do is all about encouraging our customers to age younger And of course, what we mean by that is extend their health span and get more out of their life, more out of their functional fitness. At the moment, if you flick on, David, at the moment we've got we're basically a proactive, personalised healthcare company. Everything that we do is hyper personalised and is aimed at each individual member. At the moment, our youngest member is 38 and our oldest member is 87. So we have quite a different approach to our 38-year-old member as opposed to our 87-year-old. But the reality is both are coming and both are enjoying the experience. We are a new startup business. We've got the first studio, as I've already said, open in Milton Keynes. And our mission is basically to give everybody the tools that they need to live a long, strong, active and healthy life. And really with the emphasis on the word strong. So when I was working in the fitness industry full time, I think when you get into a role, you're very blinkered in terms of the things that you're trying to achieve. And it was only when I made the decision to leave that my eyes were kind of opened up to a whole new world, in particular around health optimization and lifestyle medicine. So we're not really trying to be the inventor of anything new. What we're trying to do is take the science and tech that exists in the world of longevity already and basically give it a route to market. And in giving it a route to market, we're improving the health span and the quality of life of all of our members. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the presentation. So this is what we're about. We're all about slowing down and even reversing aging. And we've got a number of members that may have a chronological age, in their late 60s and early 70s, but they've got a bio age, some of them even as low as their 40s. And as I said before, we measure that by 4 key assessments, 1 to do with strength, 1 flexibility, 1 metabolism, and 1 cardio fitness. How do we do this then? On the next slide. Okay, so we work, is the slide stuck, David? We work in partnership with an equipment supplier, and the next one, please, with an equipment supplier called eGym. They have a fantastic range of electromagnetic resistance equipment. And every single one of our members begins with a evidence-based bioage assessment. We do that assessment on day 1, and then we repeat that in week 4, we repeat that in week 12, and we repeat that in week 26. So overall, all of our members have a 6-month health and wellbeing program. Everything that we do is evidenced, and everything that we do is results orientated, and we give our members results orientated lifestyle and fitness programs. This is about to come to market, but we have an AI driven educational content app, and that app takes people through a 30, 60 and 90-day longevity program, where we're teaching all of our members about all the different aspects related to longevity. And as you would expect, at any moment in time, our members have access to specialised and fully qualified longevity coaches. Okay, next slide. And why do we do what we do? Well, look, at the core of everything that we do is muscular strength, because muscular strength is about much more than being strong. As I'm sure everybody on the call understands, over the age of 30, we lose about 1% of our muscle mass every year. And sadly, that means that if you don't strength train as an adult, by the time you're 70, you're half as strong as you were when you were 30. So muscular strength is absolutely critical to the active aging process. And of course, when you strength train, it does way more than just make you stronger. The physiological effects of strength training go as far as helping to regulate blood sugar, and therefore they can help control diabetes, obviously can help offset fragility and sarcopenia, can lead to improved cellular health, reduced blood pressure, and many, many more benefits, all of which we need as we age and we get into our 50s, 60s and 70s. And I think one of the messages that I would give is it's never too late to begin some of these fitness and lifestyle changes. There's an old adage that if you want to be fit at 50, make sure you're fit at 40. If you want to be fit at 60, make sure you're fit at 50. So it's never too early, it's never too late, and everybody can begin to get some of these physiological benefits of physical activity, exercise, and in particular strength training no matter what age they begin. Thanks, David. Okay, so as I said, we work with eGym. It's a highly technical solution. On the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you can see a wristband. All of our customers have a wristband which has an RFID chip inside. That RFID chip is completely personal to them, and it basically triggers everything that they do in the longevity studio. So when somebody comes in to do a strength circuit, it's a bit of a no-brainer. They fob their wristband onto a piece of kit. It immediately knows who they are. It knows the program that they're on, which is hyper-personalized to them. It knows the weights that they're doing. And critically, it knows their range of movement. So if we're dealing with customers that may have limited range of movement, for example, in knees or shoulders or back, we can set up each piece of equipment so that they're always working within their own safe confines, and we create the safest environment that we possibly can for people to strength train. All of that information is basically uploaded to an app. Every customer has access to the app. They can obviously see and control their own data, and critically, they can track where they are against certain biomarkers as they progress through the 6-month program. And this is our 6-month customer journey. And the journey can be changed. We can have different journeys in different locations. But in Milton Keynes at the moment, as I said before, we do bioage assessments with our customers in week 1, 4, 12, and 26. For those customers that want to, we do DNA and epigenetics assessments in week 1, and we review the results of that in weeks 4 and 6. We do cellular health assessments, working with a partner called Zinzino, which is largely around omega-3s and 6s. We introduced that in week 8, and we're about to introduce gut health assessments, and we're working on a cognitive fitness solution as well. So all in all, we're wrapping up all sorts of different elements that we need to be on top of as we age. Thanks, David. And here are the sort of 5 key components of the longevity brand. The first one is all around functional fitness, which I've described. The second one is all around DNA and epigenetics, and some of the stats we can get from epigenetics results are very eye-opening, and they lead us into certain lifestyle changes. Cellular health is all around for us omega-3s and 6s, and then the final 2 components of our brand are around gut health and cognitive fitness. And why are we doing this now? Well, look, all the research, you just need to Google an aging demographic, and you'll be inundated with stats and figures. But the reality is, the population is aging. By 2030, 1 in 2 of the population will be over the age of 50. And therein lies a challenge, but therein lies a massive opportunity. There are all sorts of people that are way more expert in this subject than me. There's a quote on here from David Sinclair. He would definitely be one of them. When we're talking about aging as a disease, and there's no doubt about it, that the things that we do on a regular basis in our day-to-day lives do affect the way that we age. So part of this, from my perspective, is refocusing what I learned in the fitness world about the things we do with the 18 to 35-year-olds and repositioning it so that it's appropriate for people that might be in their 40s, 50s, and 70 plus. Lovely. And this is what I mentioned earlier. On average, people spend the 9 years of their life with some sort of disease or decay. And we're adamant that with our longevity brand and our longevity studios, we can do something about that, and we can reduce that length of time that people spend in decay from 9 years. We can reduce it to some degree, ideally down to nothing or 1. And I mentioned this before, people that do work out regularly with us for 26 weeks, at the moment, they reduce their bioage by on average 7 years, which is literally aging younger. What it really is giving them 7 more years of functional life, and it's improving their health span, which is what we want to achieve. Because finally, it's obviously not necessarily about the life in your years. It's all about the years in your life. It's about the life in your years. Thanks very much. Good. Any questions, I guess, from anybody?
Well, yes, I guess. Well, I can't see any questions coming yet, but I'm sure there will be some. And maybe our guest Fraser Quinn and Ron O'Donnell, when he joins us, will have some questions to put to you as well. And Fraser will be able to talk about it from a lifestyle medicine point of view. I'd like to move on now to Lucia Pannese. She's got a video switched off at the moment. I hope she hasn't disappeared. But what I'm going to do is begin by playing an introductory video for about Lucia's company's flagship product called Rehabilitate. So I'm going to show you that now. Oh, hi, Lucia.
Hi, David. I'm here.
I hope your connection's working well. You do keep freezing a bit, but I can hear you very well.
Okay.
So perhaps you would just say a little bit about Imaginary and the wonderful number of years that you've been working in technology and health and gamification.
Yeah, thank you, David. Hello, everyone. So Imaginary is, in the meantime, 20 years old. We started the company working on serious games, as you know very well. And we've been always involved in EU-funded research and innovation projects. So that gave us a very nice, interesting playground on a multidisciplinary level to study what we could do with serious games and where they could be useful. So having access to particular target groups and so on. And 12 years ago, we started this journey into telerehabilitation, actually, which is the starting point of rehabilitation, what we just saw in the video. Thank you for playing that. I think that the most interesting things were that thanks to these EU-funded research projects, we had the chance not only to working with medical specialists, which is clearly the starting point of every technical solution that should support and facilitate and organize telerehabilitation, but also with the patients. So what we actually did for the last 12 years was almost on a daily basis working with older patients, because that's the target group that we choose for the beginning. So people between 65 or 60 and 95. So this span. And what we did was actually designing the solution with them. So in other words, as was probably clear from the video, what we did was merging motor support or motor stimulation and cognitive stimulation into functional tasks. The functional tasks are presented as games, interactive games, and the games were designed with the type of people, the type of patients that we choose as our target group. We started from neurology. So this means that in different countries in Europe, because Europe is the basin of EU-funded research normally, we did motivational, we carried out motivational studies to find out what is motivating for this target group, what is it what we can offer to these people so that they are keen on working with this kind of games, and what keeps them into the therapy, because we know that therapy adherence is one of the issues in this case. Lately, interestingly enough, we have been moving a little bit away from rehabilitation. Not that it's not working, but we have been looking into what else we can do with what we have. And we are approaching geriatrics and I could call it silver economy, or the older, the needs of older patients or older people in general. It's not necessarily patients. So if you're not the youngest, let's put it like that, what could you do with games? How could they be useful? And we are finding a lot of interesting areas that we can cover with what we have, including then again care homes, so places where people don't have a lot of enjoyment and interesting things to make them socialize. We have heard about socialization in the previous talk as well. So something that cheers them up, is stimulating on the motor and cognitive side, but it also facilitating socialization. So we're like broadening up the picture in a way. So that's a bit us and the rehabilitation system that you have been showing before.
Yeah, it's good. I just want to touch on a couple of things that you mentioned there, or included in that. One is co-design. That is a particular aspect. So you don't come up with a solution that you then give to people, hoping they'll use it. You actually involve the users in designing the solution. Is that correct?
Yes, that's fundamental, because if you want to catch people's motivation, you have really to find the triggers that you can use. I mean, motivation is something that is very subtle. It's different in young and older people. It's different if you're a healthy person or if you have a disease. It's different if you're in your free time or if you're at work or during a therapy. So you have to be really specific. You have to have experts. You have to involve people in that condition into what you do. And also it could have also some cultural aspects and issues to take care of. So that's the reason why we work in different countries in Europe.
Going back to rehabilitation again, I think it's another important factor, and that is, well, two important factors really, is that when a person, whatever they've had, whether they've had stroke, Parkinson's disease, or whatever, they are initially assessed by a clinician to establish what they're capable of doing. And that allows you to benchmark what rehabilitation does.
Well, not really. What we did was setting up a structure in the background so that every game is based on parameters. These parameters allow a specialist to fine-tune each single game for each patient according to the moment of the therapy. So what we heard before about personalization for the single user is exactly what we're doing as well. So there's a dashboard in the end for a specialist, and he or she can not only pick those games out of the library that make sense for the single user, but they can tune them in terms of duration, in terms of speeds, number of elements, categories of elements, spaces to use, and so on, so that the game really offers the right combination, I would say, of stimulations that are useful for that patient or user.
Yeah, and one of the things I noticed when I visited the longevity gym in Milton Keynes was that one of the pieces of equipment which was used for strength training, it actually followed dots around the screen, very much like one of your games that you use for rehabilitation. So the two elements that stick in my mind, one is the role of games. Setting challenges, making it enjoyment, and the impact that has on compliance. And the other is the fact that people are doing these things at home with their own television set.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So yeah, but the data from their activities is tracked by the solution that you provide, so the clinician can provide remote support.
Yes, exactly. So the logics is that therapy starts with the specialist in a clinic normally. So diagnosis and types of therapy and so on are defined in the clinic, then inclusion criteria should be set, because you have to avoid things like too high risk of falls or epilepsy episodes and so on. So you have to really make sure that the setting is safe enough for your patient, you as a specialist, of course. And then if the patient complies with the, say, checklist that you have put together, then the patient will get a so-called home kit, which is a micro PC and a little camera that they have to attach to a TV at home. And off they go. And through an internet connection, they receive always in the system the last version of the parameters that I was describing before, so that you make sure that the therapy is always up to date and the ideal one for the single state of the therapy. And the patients work at home, so they have the games on their own TV set, and usage data flow back into the dashboard of the specialist, so they can always monitor what is going on and how the patient is progressing.
Oh, that's great. Can you say something about VR to Care? That's a European project that we're both involved in some
Yes.
way. You as a developer, me as an external advisor. What
Yes,
is VR to Care about?
So VR to Care is our current EU-funded innovation project. And the logics is that we have a sort of blend of technologies there that we put together and offer to users in different settings. So we have 4 so-called pilot users. So pilot users are partners in the consortium who have access to patients or users. They're not always patients. They have real settings like care homes, like spaces where they do adapted gymnastics and these kind of things. And they have access to the blend of technologies that we as technology partners, plural because there's more, not only us, have put together for them. What we have there is not only rehabilitation, which we have discussed in detail right now. We have a home monitoring system that is the sort of frame into which all the technologies are connected. And there you can monitor things like vital parameters and some of the things you have said before, even for yourself, like heartbeat and so on. We developed with the coordinator so-called multi-user environment, and that's the closest technology to a gym, where people can train from home, but they see avatars also of other users doing the same exercises. And there's a therapist connected who can correct and orchestrate the virtual gym session. And there's also a camera integrated, if users have it at home, that can detect falls, so that you make sure that nothing happens. So this is a bit the setting, and what we're trying to figure out is the motivation of users and also a bit the organization that is needed to make all this mix of technologies work nicely and smoothly.
Okay, thank you. Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in both Neil and Fraser because we have had a question from the audience. So, Fraser, would you like to just say a few words about lifestyle medicine to begin with?
Yeah, thanks, David. Yes, British Society of Lifestyle Medicine is a membership-based organisation, it's a charity. We have over 2,500 members, all from the health sector, including general practitioners, nurses, health coaches, physiotherapy, dentists, surgeons, psychiatry. So a real cross-section of members throughout the health service. And there's a recognition now that lifestyle medicine really is the future of healthcare delivery across all the Royal Colleges in the UK. So it's really exciting times for lifestyle medicine. Lifestyle medicine is all around self-care and behavioural change, but supervised by clinicians, and is based around 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, which will be familiar to you, David, because you quoted 6 of them in your earlier slide: physical activity, nutrition, mental well-being, healthy social relationships, drug and alcohol cessation or harmful substances cessation, and of course nutrition. Although there are 6 separate pillars, we treat everything holistically. So we train healthcare professionals to deliver lifestyle medicine assessments and then go on to behavioural changes. So it's very much about the whole and not just 6 separate pillars, although those pillars do indicate where the majority of problems around non-communicable diseases arise. So the diseases that we're interested in, as I'm sure Neil and Lucia and yourself know, are lifestyle diseases. So obesity, cardiovascular disease, some dementias, some cancers, type 2 diabetes, mental health issues, and so on. And BSLM as an organization, in the first instance, provide in-depth training for healthcare professionals to be able to encourage behavioral changes, which of course is the major challenge that we face in delivering healthcare services. And it's something that is very much dependent on who your target audience is, because some, as Neil and Lucia will know, are very receptive to the health message, whereas others are not receptive to the health message. And one of the concerns that we have are that the healthcare systems in the UK necessarily don't address the upstream determinants of health. So poverty, social isolation, education levels, and so on. So we as an organisation are very much interested in targeting those communities, individuals, cohorts that do not access healthcare services as they should, because that's where the bulk of chronic diseases lies and will lie in the future. There's a stark statistic from where we come from. We're just outside of Edinburgh. Our HQ is in Scotland, and in the centre of Edinburgh. And I forget the exact figure of life expectancy, but for argument's sake, we'll say 78. So in the city centre in Edinburgh, life expectancy amongst men is 78. If you jump on the tram and head towards the airport, within 2 miles of the city centre, the life expectancy has dropped to 68, which is both startling and depressing. And it's all based around poverty and social isolation, drug and alcohol consumption, and other lifestyle determinants. So we are very much around educating and around advocating for lifestyle changes. There's no question that self-care is the coming thrust of healthcare delivery, but self-care with clinical intervention and clinical supervision from day one. Having said that, however, we absolutely acknowledge the role of tech in this, and it has a huge role to play. Lucia's presentation was really, really interesting. And I think from our perspective, patients undertaking lifestyle medicine interventions at home is perhaps more attractive than patients doing the same in gyms. And I mean, no disrespect whatsoever to what Neil's doing, and it looks like a fantastic facility. But people who can't afford it won't join gyms like that. But people who can't afford it may well use systems like Lucia is developing, and that could well provide a big leap forward for supervised interventions moving forward and behavioural changes. So for us, it's a challenge. It's a fascinating area. It's one we recognise, and actually as an organisation, we need to really upskill our internal teams so that we can upskill our members moving forward and incorporate tech into incorporate tech into our education offerings as well.
So can you just say?
Sorry.
Can you just say something about your accreditation program and social prescribing? Because it seems to me that social prescribing and having accredited people to provide these support are also key to behaviour change.
No, absolutely. So BSLM offer core accreditation in lifestyle medicine, which in turn is accredited externally by the European Lifestyle Medicine Council and is in the process of being approved by the World Lifestyle Medicine Organization. So we're part of a global movement, and lifestyle medicine is clearly a global movement. And it's a very intensive, in-depth course around the science of lifestyle medicine, so the why, introduction to non-communicable diseases, the science around those, but then crucially the practice of behavioral change and supporting behavioral change, which might be in some cases doctors prescribing gyms, which is fantastic. Doesn't happen enough. It happens rarely, and it should happen more. But all the way through to actually encouraging people just to move more. So actually to get up off your chair if you're working in an office every half an hour or so and just move around. So it's important that we're addressing lifestyle medicine changes on a number of different levels. But it's important also that healthcare professionals, when we talk about lifestyle medicine, are all talking about the same thing, because there are many interpretations of lifestyle medicine which don't represent good practice, not only in the UK, but also around the world as well. And it's important that the science is correct, so that patients are not receiving information which is scientifically questionable or actually just downright incorrect and dangerous. We are absolutely science-based, and I know that Neil and Lucia in their programs have clearly, embraced the scientific aspects of lifestyle medicine. So that's really encouraging to see, and it's important for us as organisations, when we're asked to endorse technologies, that it is absolutely science-based. But then you've got the very personal side of lifestyle medicine, which is about relationship and community. And this is where social prescribing becomes very important. So the social prescribers are key people in primary care networks and secondary care organisations to ensure that people who are being treated for whatever ailment they have actually have ongoing access to support in their own communities. And unfortunately, whilst some primary care networks, secondary organisations have very well developed social prescribing projects, others don't. And certain local authorities have very well defined social prescribing opportunities. So multiple third sector and other organisations in the community that can be referred into. Again, others don't have that. So there needs to be a large focus on the community and in social prescribing moving forwards. But with the self-care thrust that is really being embedded into policy in all the nations in the United Kingdom, that really is going to be to the fore. So self-care is going to be a priority, and an important part of self-care is social prescribing. So it's creating those networks in the community to allow people to engage, create meaningful relationships, whilst also going to the gym and whilst also doing the kind of work at home that Lucia is talking about. So there's a holistic view to be taken about this, but social prescribing absolutely is a very key part of this, to ensure that people are introduced and aware of what's available in their own community, which is enormous. There are enormous opportunities in communities that people either don't access or don't know about. And really it's incumbent upon all healthcare services to ensure that people do have access to those services.
Well, thanks very much. I have got a question. I've got a few slides to show, probably at my own expense towards the end. But I've got a question which I think was directed from Neil from America, talking about sarcopenia. You mentioned it, Neil, in your presentation. Would you like to say something about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a number of apps out there that you can use to measure. I wouldn't be in a position to recommend one particular one. I mean, ours, we do muscular strength tests with our customers, as I said, in week 1, 4, 12, and 26. And it's only when you do it over a period of time that you can actually measure the strength gains or not that your customers are doing. So we record all of that in our own internal longevity app, and customers can track their own progress, and we can obviously prescribe exercises based on the results that they're getting. But I wouldn't necessarily want to recommend one particular app for the measurement of sarcopenia. No.
Okay, thanks for that, Neil. Well, we've got about a quarter of an hour left. I'm not going to take a quarter of an hour to do these slides, but I just wanted to run through slides just to give you the background to this. Is that as I've indicated, I'm a lifestyle medicine geek, for one, when I've been trying technologies for the last 10 years to try and better understand how my body works and to make some changes. And the technology has improved enormously. One of the latest iterations is a product called Zoe. And Zoe is a kit. Fraser's smiling. I'm not quite sure why he's smiling, but yes, it's a kit which includes a Freestyle Libre blood glucose measurement, which is attached to my arm at this very minute. It's the last day that I've got it attached to my arm, so we're going to be separated later on this afternoon. You do a blood test and also a gut health test by providing a sample, and then you go through a series of exercises which are designed to help your understanding of what kinds of foods are good for you. So I would like to share my experiences of the last 2 weeks living with Zoe and some of the things that have been involved in that. So I'm going to add my slide presentation to the stage. So I put together a series of slides called Zoe Diaries, the journey begins. And so when I started a couple of weeks ago, I had to install this blood sugar monitor onto my arm. I had to use my other arm to give a blood sample, and I had to give a sample of my stools. And these have been sent off. I'm waiting for the results. I'm quite dreading the results actually when they come back. But this is what I've learned over the last couple of weeks, which for me anyway is certainly quite insightful. So the idea is that Zoe, at the beginning, they give you some cookies. You have 2 cookies for breakfast. You have 2 for your lunch, and that kind of benchmarks your blood sugar or your reaction to food with high sugar content. Then when you first start Zoe 101, it gives you each morning an exercise to do to help you understand the impact of different types of food. And so it begins on day 1 with you having 3 slices of white bread. So I had 3 slices of toast, and I measured my blood sugar. So I had the toast at 10 minutes past 7, and I can see how that impacted my blood sugar level. You can see the readings there. The next day, my white bread was replaced with avocado, which is high in fat but low in carbs. And you can see with the avocado, the blood sugar spike is a lot lower than it was for the white bread, even though the number of calories involved was probably pretty much equivalent, the same number of calories in the white bread as in the carbo. So this is just putting them on the graphs on the same page, carbs versus fat and impact on blood sugar. And so I've highlighted the fact that I've just described there is that the avocado gave me a smaller sugar spike. So the next day, I ate 3 slices of white bread with avocado on them. So I'm eating the same things at the same time, and I monitored the blood sugar spike as a result. And the pattern is slightly different, as you'll see as we go through towards the very end. So that was day 3. Day 4 asked me to eat the white bread. I'm getting fed up of white bread on toast. I don't normally eat it at breakfast. So, but white bread followed by 30 minutes of walking, 30 minutes of exercise, again, certainly had an effect on the spike of the blood sugar. Then on day 5, I had an avocado. I had to wait 10 minutes and then white bread. And it had a totally different kind of spike on my blood sugar. So following on from that, that was the end of the Zoe exercises, but I've been trying to see the impact of different types of food whilst I've got my blood sugar monitor. And there are a few kind of insightful things I want to share with you. So on March the 10th, which was 3 days ago, I had a custard slice with a cup of coffee. And that's what I normally do in an afternoon. And you can see it ramped up the blood sugar quite substantially. And then finally, last night, and this is where I'm doing this at my own expense, is that I experimented with fasting a little bit, fasting and eating less during the day. So you can see my blood sugar levels were more stable in the morning, but because I went to a seminar in London in the evening, and I didn't have any dinner that I normally have at about 6:30. So I was tempted to have, as I sometimes am, a giant Cornish pasty on Euston Station, and you can see that my blood sugar levels went through the roof. So I'm still learning. Now, what will happen with Zoe from now on is that the results of my blood test and my gut health test, Zoe will be able to tell me on a personalised basis what combinations of food I should eat and should avoid. I learned some of this myself from this exercise that I'm showing you, but there's a lot more to be learned, and I promise to share my experiences. I have registered with the research project that's associated with Zoe that's been run by King's College of London. But what I tried to do was to put all of these together in a single slide, and it seems like all of the other lines have disappeared on my slide for some reason. But I put together a composite slide that shows the differences on each of the day with what I ate, and that hopefully will improve my understanding. So lifestyle medicine, I'm very pleased that Fraser is able to join me today, and I'm just talking about it from my own personal experience. I didn't even know there was a discipline called lifestyle medicine until a couple of years ago. So it was all for me just exploring trial and error and finding out what worked and what didn't work. But you can find out more on the BSLM website with the addresses there. So as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to technologies, it's not about technology really. It's about what technologies are going to influence your behaviours, and that could be something like Zoe. It could be some of the technologies that we'd heard from Neil and Lucia. But whatever age you are, technologies need to be plug and play. If you make things complex for people, they're less likely to use them. And the thing that I've learned about gamification and behavior change, it's all about combining challenges. If you don't have challenges, you don't learn anything, but you combine those challenges with some fun and enjoyment, then that leads to compliance. And the role of the family and community is absolutely vital in helping people to maintain these behavior change. And also, as I said in my mailer, if you can't measure something, you can't really manage it. Although I've been measuring things over the last 10 years, it's only fairly recently that the technologies have evolved sufficiently to be able to have some sort of clinical validation and education associated that helps me to be motivated, but also gives me control over my own health. I just want to show this final slide, and I put it in the future. This is something that I only came across a few days ago when I got contacted by a young man well, he's younger than me, so he's bound to be young, a young man in the States who has created this solution called Z-Tag. Basically, it's, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, it's described as a gunless laser tag, but basically it's something that you put on your wrist, and it has a display, and it uses game psychology and mechanics to encourage particularly the coming generation kids to exercise. So just as an example of some of the ways in which it encourages not only exercise but also socialization, you might remember from childhood playing lots of games in the playground like tag, etc. Well, the way Z-Tag works is, for example, if you've got, say, 24 kids with these tags on them, the teacher or the guide can make one person a vampire. So their tag will go red. Everybody else will go green. And so everyone who's got a green tag got to avoid the vampire. So the kids run around the playground trying to avoid the person with the red tag. And then the tag can change color and somebody else can be the vampire. But they can also use it for education by having a maths game. So it might be that you are given a number and you've got to find somebody with a number. If you add the two numbers, it comes to a different number. And so all of this is designed not only to encourage kids to exercise and move about and spend less time on their computer, but it's also trying to encourage them to socialize through games. So that I'm just sharing with you. I don't have any vested interest in Z-Tag, but it's something that did occur to me as having something potential. If we're going to avoid the problems of the aging society, we need to start with people as young as possible. So that's the end of my presentation. I don't think there are any other comments in the stream. So I'm going to just go around each of my panel members, first of all, to thank them for joining me today and for their expertise, and just to ask for a few closing remarks or comments about what we've seen today. So Lucia, would you like to begin and say a few words?
Thank you, David. Well, for me, it's always fascinating also to hear, can I call you colleagues, discussing what they're doing, because I always think there's such a potential also to put things together. Because Fraser, for example, you said that the gym that Neil presented was great. I mean, I wish I could come myself, but maybe it's not affordable by everybody. I would add also to that it's maybe not close to everybody. There are rural areas simply where maybe people would be able to afford it, but it's simply too far away. So maybe even combining some sort of distant solution with a gym or with something that you can drive to or be present in person would be a great opportunity just to reach a bigger mass of people. So that's a little bit my comment. It's always fascinating to see how you can put together the pieces of the puzzle. I was trying to type in the chat, but I don't know what I did. If someone is interested in the VR2Care EU project, you could visit www.vr2care.eu. So that was.
Oh, okay, thank you, Lucia. Neil, any closing remarks from you?
Yeah, no, thanks for inviting me on. It was good to be able to share what we're doing with the Longevity Studio. I agree. I mean, if we look back over the last, even 10 years, tech and wearable technologies come on in leaps and bounds, and everybody uses different tech to help measure and record and, analyze, in some cases, the physical activity they're doing. And the only guarantee is it's going to change again in the next 10 years. So, one of the things we are doing with the longevity brand, particularly with the use of AI through the app, is make it much more accessible to people, even if you can't get to a studio. I think the more opportunity that we give, the more that people are going to get involved and hopefully do some form of physical activity, because there's no doubt about it, active aging is definitely the best option over non-active aging. So the more people we can keep active as we get older, the better it is for well, not only for our communities, but for the economy and pretty much everything that you can think of.
And Fraser.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, obviously, good tech is good tech, but tech for tech's sake actually doesn't do any good to anybody. And I'm not for a minute commenting directly on the Zoe app, but apps in general, they have their role. The monitors, blood glucose monitors, have their role. But I can go online for nothing without subscribing to an app onto the Diabetes UK website, and it will tell me that if I eat bread, my blood glucose will spike. If I eat a big pasty, my blood glucose will spike. You get that information online for free. You don't need to buy an expensive tech system to show you that. Also, from your figures, David, you look to be very healthy because your blood sugar returned to normal levels very quickly. Where something like that is very useful is if somebody's baseline blood glucose level is above 10 and are clearly type 2 diabetic, to see how far it spikes into the ketogenic range is very important. Beyond that, the healthy well should not be using monitors, blood glucose monitors like that, because the information that whatever you eat, your blood glucose will spike. If you exercise immediately after eating, your blood glucose will drop somewhat. And after 2 hours of fasting, your blood glucose will be back to normal. You don't need tech to tell you that.
Well, I appreciate those comments, Fraser, and you could save me a lot of money. But each to his own. And I'm just trying to understand more about my body and to share that kind of knowledge. And I don't have any vested interest in Zoe or any of the other particular applications, but I think it's important to have the kind of different perspectives and where technology is appropriate and it can help, then I think it should. But as Lucia said, I think collaboration between people like ourselves, we've all got our own little corner that we work in, and if we find ways of being able to work together, we can make these kind of things accessible to as many people as possible and as affordable as possible. Is absolutely critical. I'm going to close by just playing a video. It is a longevity promotional video, but the reason I'm playing it is not to promote longevity, but to show how longevity is trying to address some of the barriers to people going to a gym. And this kind of resonated with me because Neil's gym is probably 20 minutes drive from where I live, and I'm really quite close. And I think if there's a combination of being able to do stuff at home and in the gym, you've got the best of both worlds. But this is a video that shows the arguments for why you should go to longevity and the barriers for people using gyms. I'll just show that to you now. Okay, Fraser's disappeared, but it just remains me to thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to end the stream now. We'll just check to see if there are any more comments on there. No more comments or questions. So thank you very much, guys. And no doubt we'll be in touch again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.